So about 4 years ago, I got debilitatingly sick. I'd always had like a weak immune system. I was kind of just used to perpetually being sick. And then about 4 years ago, I did some traveling. I wound up getting bit by a tick and I got Lyme disease. And then I went to Asia and I wound up getting parasites. And so by the time I got back to the States, my tongue turned black and I was bedridden. And the doctors really didn't know what to do. I was really lucky. I actually had a Lyme literate doctor who was able to test me, and she was like, look, this is what's going on. And she wanted me to go on anywhere from 6 weeks to 8 months of multiple antibiotics. And I was like, I really don't want to do it. So after about 3 weeks of the antibiotics, I stopped. And I went to a silent retreat. And I started looking for different spiritual outlets and ways to heal myself that were more in alignment with the way that I wanted to live my life. My progress was not great. I just kept getting sicker and sicker. I couldn't walk more than 5 steps without having to catch my breath. Going upstairs was impossible. Life just, like my world just got very, very, very small, very, very quickly. And to the point where the only thing I could eat was bone broth. Maybe a few other things here and there, but I was like really limited in how I could live my life, the things that I could do. I was terrified of my environment. I was scared to go outside. I was scared to talk to people. I was scared to have people over. Like everything just became like more and more scary in my world. Doctors didn't know what to think about what was going on with me. You know, I had a doctor say to my parents, it's just a case of another girl who's tired. And like, what? And so my parents were like, you're fine. Like that doctor said you're fine. And I was like, this isn't normal. I can't breathe. I can't walk. This isn't okay. And I was like, but I'm gonna be fine and I'm going to do this. And I noticed that like when I felt supported and I felt love, then I started to feel better. And when I felt like I was in antagonistic relationships, I started to feel worse. And so I started to track these things, and then I came across Dr. Joe's work, and like things just started clicking. And I was like, I have to get to a live event. I know, like this is gonna help. So I went to Bogota, Colombia. And at that point, I wasn't flying because my neurological symptoms were so severe that when I would fly, I would have neuropathy and like headaches that would last for months, for a month. If I had been on a flight, like it could last for as long as a month.
How did you get to Bogota?
I flew because I knew. I was like, well, what do I have to lose? I was like, I know what's gonna happen. Either I fly and I have neuropathy and a headache for a month, and then I know I'm gonna be okay after that. Like, that's the worst case scenario. Best case scenario, I get a little bit better, you know? So I flew to Bogota, and I was really concerned about the altitude because of all like the neurological complications that I had. But I get to Bogota, and the first day of the workshop, I started to feel better. Like I had no altitude sickness. My head felt fine. I felt clear, and I was like, okay, this is weird. Like, oh, what is going on? I flew back from Bogota, and I had very, very minimal neuropathy. And I didn't have a headache. And I was up and like running around and totally fine once I got off the plane. And I had like a little bit of neuropathy, but like it was like nothing. And I was like, okay, there's something to this. I'm starting to get better. And so then COVID happened, or the pandemic happened. And I was really looking forward to getting to the next workshop and the next workshop. And I was like, oh, what am I gonna do? But I kept up with the meditations. I had ups, I had downs, I had some real downs, I had some real ups, but I started to make decisions in my life that, you know, were consistent with the thoughts and the behaviors that I wanted to see exhibited in my world. And so I left a partner that I was with, and I stopped being a victim and blaming him and blaming everyone. And it's not to say that I always stopped blaming him and everyone, but I was working on it, and I was catching myself, and I was starting to feel better. And then I signed up for the Marco Island retreat. When I got to Marco Island, one day I had this realization that it was the day of the kaleidoscope. And I was like, I don't know why I'm pretending that I don't know how to do this. I don't know why I'm pretending that I'm separate from God. Like, I know that I'm not. I've experienced this before. Like, I know who I am. I'm going for it. So I went for it, and we had the kaleidoscope with the mystical images, and I go to lay down, and I'm already having a great trip, but at this point I'm like, okay, like something's gotta happen. So I go to lay down, and I was like, that was nice. I'm not really thinking anything of it, and then all of a sudden I see myself unable to get up. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, but I didn't think anything of it because like I didn't feel different. I was just like, that was a weird vision that I had in my mind. And then Dr. Joe says, okay, take your seats. And I was like, okay. And I go to get up and I was like, I can't move. And I was like, all right, it's cool. Like, just stay chill. It's not a big deal. And then 5 minutes pass, 10 minutes pass. And then someone comes over, they're like, are you okay? And I was like, I think so. I was like, I'm here, but I can't move. They're like, do you want to be able to move? I was like, yeah, probably. But I was like, maybe another minute. Anyway, long story short, 4 hours later, I'm convulsing on the floor, screaming like a banshee, and like, it feels like all hell is breaking loose throughout my body. I'm like flailing. I got one woman catching my head, one woman catching my legs. My legs are going from side to side, and it was a trip. And it was beautiful and wild, and people didn't want to come back the next day because they were like, what is happening to this gal? And it didn't hurt. I wasn't in any pain. I was laughing and joking the whole time. I was fully lucid. I was having the time of my life, and like spirit was just kind of moving through me and just getting stuff out of the way.
What did that feel like?
Okay, so remember the X that I told you about? It felt amazing in my body, but the best way that I can describe it is I popped up, like my body would do these things, and so I was on the ground, I'm kind of like this, and then it would like shoot me up, and I would be seated upright. And the first time I shoot up, I see, my ex was also at the event, and I see him there, and I'm like, ugh, what is he even doing here? Like, they should get him away, like this isn't appropriate, I don't want him here. And then poof, I get laid back down again. And then I'm like convulsing, and then I get shot back up. And I was like, oh, I see him again. I'm like, oh, it's not that bad that he's here. Like, he doesn't mean anything by it. Like, it's all good. And I would get back down again, and then the third time I pop, I was like, oh my God, I love him so much. And it was just like, I was flooded with so much love and appreciation and gratitude and energy, like just so much energy. I had no control over it. And like I would try to stand up, and Bhavna and Lacey were my angels who were with me the entire time, and they were incredible, and they were guiding me through, and I felt safe the whole time. I felt like I was gonna be fine, and I was like, this is what I came for, like this is what I asked for, it's really happening. But I felt safe the whole time. I felt like a lot of like vibration throughout my body. It was just like a lot of vibration and just like a lot of movement.
What would you tell somebody who witnessed that was afraid of what they saw?
There's absolutely nothing to be afraid of. Like, in fact, it's bliss. Like, it's intense. It's really intense, but it's beautiful. And it's like, it just, as strange as it feels, that's how natural it is. Like, or as strange as it looks, rather. That's how natural it feels. There's something, it's exciting and it's fun, but there's just, you know, I had somebody come up to me, she was like, I was really scared for you, I was sending you all these prayers. I was like, oh love, I'll send you my love. Like, no, like it was great. There's nothing to be afraid of. I feel amazing, you know? And yeah, so if anyone who saw that and was like, that's really terrifying, I would say there's nothing to be scared of. It's beautiful, and if anyone starts to have sensations that come up, like as long as they feel safe, and I was blessed that I had those angels around me, like go for it. It's beautiful and it's incredible. And what I found and what I realized, you know, being here, after that experience, people were like, oh, I'm sure your allergies are gone, because I have like a gazillion food allergies and celiac. I had a gazillion food allergies and celiac and all of these things. And people at the event who saw it, they were like, oh, I bet those are gone and like you're totally fine. And I was like, no, I don't think so. I was like, that was good, but that wasn't it. Like, that was really nice. And it felt like love and it felt like God. And I know that that's what it was, but that wasn't it. Like, I know I'm not about to eat a pizza. Like, so I was like, I've got to get to the next event. I'm going to Cancun. And so I signed up for Cancun. And then Yeah, I'll just share this. So I wound up, a few weeks after the event, I wound up getting COVID. And I was like, oh, I got a biological upgrade. I thought that's supposed to mean that I'm never gonna get sick again, and like I'm healed. And it was very interesting and silly, but what I realized was that COVID experience that I had was like setting me up for the experience that I had here. And that genuinely every experience that I had leading up to this moment was divine and perfect and setting me up to be here and to experience what I'm experiencing. And like everything that I've resented and hated and thought was terrible and like was a victim to and said, woe is me, like all of those experiences, I literally look at them and I'm just like, thank you. Like, of course, like it couldn't have happened any differently. And so COVID was one of those experiences where I got really sick and I was laying in bed and I didn't want to take any Tylenol. So my fever spiked up to 104 and everyone's like, you're nuts, what are you doing, right? Because it's crazy not to take Tylenol if you're at 104 fever. And I was like, no, I know I need to see something. I was like, I'm gonna meditate. I just give me space. I'm gonna meditate. I need to see what's going on. So I just asked my body, I was like, okay, what is going on here? What is it that I'm not seeing? Like, what do I need to see? And what I saw, and it gives me chills every time I think about it, but what I saw was that I was holding on to fear. And I had this fear that I wasn't safe. And so what I saw was that there was a vibrational frequency for that. And that my celiac, my Lyme, and COVID were all on the same vibrational frequency. So I was like, oh, okay, that's good information. And when I was in that fever state, I went like back in time. And I like saw my childhood home and having mold in my house, and I asked like, okay, so what is it that I don't feel safe about? And it's like, okay, I don't feel safe in my home, I don't feel safe in my body, and it was like, I don't feel safe in my body temple. And then when that happened, I got shot back to the first destruction of the temple in Jerusalem, and I'm Jewish, so it was like this ancestral kind of holding. I'm just sharing everything with you, by the way. So it was this like kind of ancestral holding, I guess. And I was like, oh my gosh, this has been in here forever. And like, no wonder, like it was like, you know, I was blaming my parents. And I'm like, this isn't my parents' fault. This isn't anybody's fault. Like, this is like the privilege that I have to work through. And so, so I saw that, but I really didn't do a lot with that information. I was like, and I saw that the way to heal it was exactly what Dr. Joe has been saying, but I didn't hear it when he was saying it. Like I did, but it just, like, I got it intellectually, and then all of a sudden I saw it and was like, oh, you actually have to meet that vibration with its opposite. Like, you have to cultivate the opposite in order to heal. And so then I came here, and it was like my ego started bucking right before I came and was like, don't come, you shouldn't go. And I was like, no, I'm going. I came, and on day 2, during the blessing of the energy centers, I had a major experience. And I went through each of the energy centers, and I found that in the first center, so my first 3 centers I actually couldn't feel. And I was like, I'm just gonna send them attention, I'm just gonna send them attention. And then I got to my heart. And I felt my heart, and it just expanded and expanded and expanded. And the thing that I heard was that it's safe to love. And I saw all of the ways that I feared loving, because I felt that if I exposed myself to love, that I became unsafe in any number of ways. And then once that happened, the energy shot back down to my first center. And then I realized that I felt very unsafe sexually, that I didn't feel safe to be a sexual being, to have sex, and I had all these belief systems that I developed around that. So then once it got back to my first, I was able to release this fear of that like sex is a bad thing. And then it got to my second, and I realized that life is safe, that I didn't have to be scared to leave my house or to engage with people. Like, I was scared that if I engaged with somebody, they would have a virus and I would get it, or if I talked to somebody, they would influence me, or like, I just became so scared of everyone. And I realized, like, no, I'm safe. And then I got to my third, and I realized that I had been trying to like put all these protective barriers around me to make myself feel comfortable. And I didn't have to do that because I'm powerful. I'm really powerful, and I'm strong. And then I back at my heart, and I'm, you know, it's safe to love. And then it got to my throat, and I realized that I had been communicating out of like the need to keep myself safe. So I would say things not because it's what I authentically felt or knew or wanted to share, but because I wanted to create an environment that felt safe for me. And then it got to my pineal, and I realized that I was seeing the world through a lens of fear, and I didn't have to do that anymore, that I was safe to see the world through love. And then it got up to my seventh, and I felt in every cell of my body that I was worthy to connect with the divine. And then it got up to my crown, to my eighth, and I saw that my whole field started getting like regenerated, like that, like there were all these holes around my field, and they all, like, everything just started getting reworked and rewired. And then like the energy just like, we were pulling down what the word was that we were tapping into, and my word was safety. So I pulled in all of the safety, and I felt the safety like moving through my field, through my cells, and I felt this cellular level change. Like, I don't know how to describe it except that it was swirling throughout my body. It came like as the energy of safety came down, there was all this swirling that was happening in my body. And then once it got to my second and my first, I felt these pops. And I felt like a liberation of energy, and like this area that had been numb for years. I mean, I don't know how long. I don't know if I ever felt down there before. Like, all of a sudden I had all of this sensation, and then we were told to lay down, and I laid down, and I just heard, it's done. And I knew in every cell of my body that I could eat whatever I wanted, and that I didn't have to be afraid anymore, and that I wasn't, you know, people used to call me Bubble Girl, and I was like, I'm not Bubble Girl anymore, you know, like I don't have to worry about that. Like, I'm safe, I'm really okay, and I'm whole, and I'm healed, and I'm complete. And then since then, it's just been a wild ride, and I've had energy moving through my system, and you know, something that I don't know that I heard before, but I would say is really interesting is after that happened, like, it wasn't like I was enlightened, right? I mean, I had a moment where I was definitely with, like, just one with the divine. And then I came back, and it was like my ego turned on so, like, forcibly. And I had to, like, really catch my thoughts to make sure that I didn't go back to the thoughts that I was, you know, that got me there in the first place. It wasn't like, oh, like in that instant I knew I was healed, but it wasn't like the thoughts just disappeared. So then I was like on top of them all week, on top of them all week, on top of them, and I had these like beautiful experiences. And then this morning I had another liberation of energy in my second center during the pineal meditation. And it felt to me like staying on top of the thoughts in the way that I did brought me to the place where, like, I feel humbled, I feel gratitude, I feel a tremendous amount of love, and just really happy and grateful.